So I think it's one about balance of power. And as a consequence, I'd make point two, it has very far-reaching consequences. Because what you're really talking about is arbitrarily allowing a state legislative body to change federal law.
The governor is now asking the federal court to declare the legislature violated the state constitution by requiring that he request the money.
That lawsuit names Attorney General Henry McMaster as the defendant, meaning he would represent the legislature in this case. Henry McMaster, the Attorney General, joins us now. Mr. McMaster, always a pleasure to have you with us. Can the legislature, in your opinion, force the governor to take the stimulus money? That's what this lawsuit is all about.
No, that is, Bill, that's right. That is what it is ultimately about. And there have been some cases in the past where when there's money in the state treasury and the state and the legislature appropriates money for a certain thing, the courts have said that the governor must spend the money on that certain thing. But there's something different about this case. This money is not in the state treasury. This money is in the federal treasury, and it is to be asked for by the governor, who is given discretion under the federal law. So this is a new kind of lawsuit. I'm in the lawsuit because I have the authority as Attorney General to enforce the law, and that's the reason.
So how will this be decided, Mr. McMaster? Who will decide it?
Well, right now the case is in the federal court. The governor filed the case in the federal court saying there's a federal question involved because there's a federal statute. He asserts that there's a separation of powers between what the legislature is supposed to do and what the executive is supposed to do. It's a very important principle, but this is a question that has not been answered before.
Let's talk about another lawsuit. Craigslist. The CEO has sued you. Did he beat you to the punch? Because you threatened to sue him for aiding and abetting prostitution because of those racy ads on Craigslist.
Well, what we told him, and we started by telling him 40 attorneys general, including me, told him in November of 2008 to get those prostitution ads off. They didn't do it. I told them to do it on the 5th of May, or we would investigate and in appropriate cases prosecute, and finally they got them off just on Tuesday night. And as long as they keep those prostitution ads off and don't put them on in another place, they won't have any trouble with me. But they have to obey the law just like everybody else. You can't offer prostitution, and you can't help somebody offer prostitution in South Carolina.
Why is he suing you, Mr. McMaster?
Because he doesn't want to be prosecuted. So he's asked the judge to stop me from potentially prosecuting him later.
Now, some people have said the reason you're raising such a ruckus over the Craigslist racy ads is because you're running for governor. What would you say about that?
No, it's my job, and it is just like the other 40 attorneys general who in November of 2008 told Craigslist to get those prostitution ads off. Everybody knew there were prostitution ads, including them, and now they have finally done it. And I think the reason they did it was because they didn't want to be prosecuted.
You were on Twitter, or at least your office is on Twitter, and they have racy ads on Twitter too. Is that a conflict of interest for you, do you think?
Nobody is immune from prosecution by breaking the law. Nobody is above the law, even somebody who does it on the internet. But the difference between Craigslist and everyone else is they were told in November of 2008 by 40 attorney generals representing sheriffs and law enforcement officers all across the state, those are prostitution ads, get them off. Now they've gotten them off.
Henry McMaster, the Attorney General of South Carolina, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Bill Shaw.
Thank you for your time.
1 in 7, that's how many Tri-County residents said to be functionally illiterate, according to the Trident Literacy Association. At the same time, a 2008 study found Charleston County schools have just a 61% graduation rate. Matt Horton talked with one man who says he has a solution to that problem in our Live 5 School Patrol.
I would give them an F.
Shame on you, or so says a letter from this man to Charleston County School Superintendent Dr. Nancy McGinley.
If I could get something lower than that, I would.
He's Marvin Stewart, a constituent district board member.
Dr. McGinley, the county school board needs to admit that there are a certain group of students that we are never going to try to educate.
He says those students are the illiterate.
It's impossible for teachers to teach students with such varying reading levels.
Stewart says it's the district's policy of keeping only higher performing schools up to par, and it's hurting the future of many others. So Stewart has a solution.
I would merge all those students into one or two